Some potential dropouts find a lifeline thrown to them by chance. Danny Knox was a contemporary of Joe, and like him, a youngster who had reached 9th grade with no real links between him and school. He wasn't doing well in class, and he had no real reason for trying any harder. He, too, hated the whole setup. But then one day, at the suggestion of an attentive teacher, he decided to try out for the track squad.
Now, Danny, that's a pretty good try. As I told you earlier, we just put you in here for experiments, see how much spring you had. And there's probably nothing wrong with your spring. However, from watching you out here in the warm-up, I'm sure that you have better leg speed, and we probably should get you in the sprints. Before you go up today, we'd like to try you in a 100-yard dash.
Okay.
The cinder path was to become Danny's road to friends, to a sense of belonging in school, to personal achievement, and eventually to better classroom grades. Extracurricular activity would help him to find his way back to the curriculum.
Danny, the thing that I'm really enthused about is you running here with all these sprinters, men in the 100 and 220 men, and men off our sprint relay team here. And you ran 3rd place in that. That's a real surprise. And your time is 10:07.
Nice job.
And I realize you're new out here for track, but you find 10:07 is pretty remarkable for a new boy out here in his first time trial. So track is something that you have to work real hard at, and it takes a lot of time and a lot of attention to detail. But I'm sure if you want to be with us, well, we want you, and we'll work hard with you, and the men here will be happy to have you among our group out here. Nice go.
Thank you.
After-school activities often help young people understand why they must study. Making A's and B's is often too abstract a goal for an adolescent, but the promise of career and prestige is a tangible target to shoot at. High school programs like this Candy Striper Club show youngsters what their roles may be in later years, roles that can only be played if their schoolwork earns them the right to take their parts. A few hours a week of adult responsibility can be a bridge to increased maturity. Today, most high schools have specialists who watch over the academic careers of the students. School counseling, still grossly understaffed in most of our communities, is the best antidote to underachievement, the strongest deterrent to dropouts. The school counselor is trained to watch for danger signs and to help in an emergency. He sees the students as persons with individual problems.
No, pretty good.
I was a little bit disturbed when I received this 6 weeks grade report. I thought you were going to pick up in English a little bit.
Well, it all seems sort of pointless to me.
Pointless?
Well, I think I'm going to quit school at the end of the semester.
What seems to be the trouble?
Oh, everything in general, I guess.
Isn't your boyfriend graduating this semester?
Yes, he might get a scholarship to state.
Does this have something to do with your decision?
Yes, but the main reason is my parents.
Well, what seems to be the difficulty?
I just want a little freedom. They just treat me like a child. I'm just tired of it. Everything I do, everything I say. My mother has to even come with me when I buy my clothes. It just seems like she doesn't even trust me. They tell me who I can go out with, what time I have to be in. I have to bring my friends to the house before I can go out with them or anything. It's just terrible. I feel like I'm in prison.
Have you talked this over with Bob?
Yes, I have. He isn't pushing me at all. Of course, he doesn't want me to quit.
Well, what are you going to do?
I'll get a job, any kind of a job.
What could you do?
Oh, I could get a job in the department store or a waitress, anything.
Is that really the kind of job you want?
Well, no, I'd like to be a secretary, but I realize that takes education and a high school diploma.
Do you think you could make enough at these jobs to live as you are now?
I think I could manage.
Really? course you couldn't. You're really after independence. But I wonder if this is the way to go about it. You might wind up with less freedom than you have now. If you stay in school a little while longer, you'll be on the road to real independence. If it only means getting the kind of job you want. Now, I know you could get along with your parents if you really wanted to. Why don't you think it over a little while longer?
Well, I don't think there's anything to think about it. I've made up my mind, and I don't like school, and I want to drop out.
Like Joe, Linda is anxious to grow up. Now, not later. She feels that leaving school means leaving humiliation and childhood behind. The counselor who understands adolescents and respects them can very often help them to change their minds. But Joe reached the beginning of his 11th year in the school system without counseling, without any real ties to fellow students, without motivation for the hard work of overcoming his scholastic handicaps. That first day of the 11th grade was the day Joe Conklin went out into the world, dropped out into the world by the back door. Even then, he wasn't sure he was doing the right thing. Even youngsters who hate school have strong feelings holding them to the pattern of our system. He wasn't breaking any law now, but he felt as though he were. For few 16-year-old boys are men. They still need the companionship of other 16-year-olds. They still need supervision and protection. The grown-ups' world is frightening and challenging, even when it is attractive. All day long, Joe struggled for a decision. He wandered and looked at the fascinating surface of the adult's world, wanting to get into it, wondering how. This was a day Joe would always remember. The day he started the endless task of trying to gain entrance into a strange world without a passport. Most schools in America today are trying to keep their Joes from dropping out. All surveys prove that without high school diplomas, the children of the age of automation are virtually doomed to a miserable life. Even the simplest opportunities that are open to young people demand a fair amount of academic achievement, and the schools are aware of the situation. One of the helpful steps that educators are taking is the expansion of curriculum to fit the needs of individual students. Courses that involve the personal interests of the students are being added in the hope that they may motivate harder work in the academic subjects that are related to them.
All right, that's 60,000's over. That's good enough. Finish your cut. Go ahead and start your machine. What is your dwell? 35.
And even if they fail to improve scholastically, many of them are gaining skills and self-confidence that will help them in the adult world. Some schools have organized programs of work experience education and have added a new specialist to the high school faculty. This man arranges part-time jobs for students who might otherwise become dropouts. He contacts local businessmen who can offer employment under approved conditions. But he is an educator, not an employment agent. If the student cannot learn on the job, it is not acceptable. He found this building operation, for instance. The electrical contractor was willing to take on a junior apprentice with the idea of breaking him into the craft while he finished his schoolwork. Gus works 4 hours a day at tasks that are constantly showing him why he must learn math, a subject that almost caused him to flunk out. Now that he deals with numbers and fractions in his calculations, the math doesn't seem so mysterious. The work experience educator makes it his business to visit the building site at intervals, to see that Gus is right for the job and the job is right for Gus. For Gus is still in school. He spends 4 hours a day in class under a special program that will enable him to graduate along with his proper grade. Many of the boys and girls who are enrolled under this work experience plan show a considerable increase of interest in their entire school program.
Have there ever been any cases in which the Attorney General and the Public Defender were up against each other in court?
They are more serious, they try harder, they do not have to be pushed to learn. For one thing, their confidence in themselves has been restored. For another, they do not feel that they are alone, humiliated, branded as failures. And thirdly, they see some hope for their futures. They are assured that they will enter the adult world by the front door. Little wonder they are interested in what goes on in that world. But the 4-4 plan, as it is called, does not operate impersonally. The progress of the students is constantly checked by supervisor and counselor.
And we finally found him a job with Mr. Caleras, an electrical contractor. How is he doing in the classroom now, by the way?
Very good. His grades are coming up. I talked to his instructor, and he's getting along better with the other students and himself as well. He's beginning to learn the practical value of what he's learning here.
You've talked with his parents?
I talked to his parents just last week, and they're delighted with the change of attitude. And, of course, I'm very happy because this means he'll be able to graduate from school.
Our Joe got a job when he left school a year ago. Then he got a car, souped it up, found himself a girl. Now at 17, he's lost that job and 2 others. The unskilled worker is the last to be hired and the first to be fired. Every new machine, every business recession ends his employment once again. And so Joe will go on searching for jobs, seeking the way in, driving to nowhere. When did he lose his way?
Would someone like to volunteer to help us with this?
Why don't you do something about it?
Are you through now?
Over a ravine.
Doesn't matter how you get it, just as long as you get the buck. That's what I always say.
For Joe and thousands like him, there are no counselors, no remedial reading classes, no help at school or at home, no help from community agencies. And remember, almost 1 million Joes a year drop out of school and are lost. Lost to their time, lost to themselves. For a little while, Joe still has a chance. If his community, his school, his neighbors want to help, if he himself wants to be helped, he can still turn back and rediscover what he has given up, the chance to learn. If he doesn't, his search will be endless. There is no shortcut.
Is something that you have to work real hard at, and it takes a lot of time and a lot of attention to detail. But I'm sure if you want to be with us, well, we want you, and we'll work hard with you. And the men here will be happy to have you among our group out here. Nice go.
Thank you.
After-school activities often help young people understand why they must study. Making A's and B's is often too abstract a goal for an adolescent. But the promise of career and prestige is a tangible target to shoot.
Today we'd like to try you in a 100-yard dash.
Okay.
The cinder path was to become Danny's road to friends, to a sense of belonging in school, to personal achievement, and eventually to better classroom grades. Extracurricular activity would help him to find his way back to the curriculum.
Danny, the thing that I'm really enthused about is you running here with all these sprinters, men in our 100 and 220 men, and men off our sprint relay team here. And you ran third place in that. It's a real surprise. And your time is 10:07.
Nice job.
And I realize you're new out here for track, but you find 10:07 is pretty remarkable for a new boy out here in his first time trial. So track.
Some potential dropouts find a lifeline thrown to them by chance. Danny Knox was a contemporary of Joe, and like him, a youngster who had reached 9th grade with no real links between him and school. He wasn't doing well in class, and he had no real reason for trying any harder. He, too, hated the whole setup. But then one day, at the suggestion of an attentive teacher, he decided to try out for the track squad.
Now, Danny, that's a pretty good try. As I told you earlier, we just put you in here for experiments, see how much spring you had. And there's probably nothing wrong with your spring. However, from watching you out here in the warm-up, I'm sure that you have better leg speed, and we probably should get you in the sprints. Before you go up to